Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another reading from Papa's Comic Books and Coffee. I just wonder, what could today's episode be about? Does anybody have any idea what kind of book we might be reading today? I just can't figure it out. I don't know what book we're going to read. I hope it's a good one, filled with lots of comic book action. But what do you think? I just can't remember what the book is that we're going to read today. Maybe, just maybe, we'll figure it out. But I don't know. What is it? What is it? What is it? There it is. Batman's Detective Comics, number 459, 30 cents back in 1976. This is written by Martin Pasco and J.L. Garcia Lopez. Don't forget, as usual, this book is available on my eBay page, Papa's-Comic-Books. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the don't like button if you don't like it. But please hit the subscribe button. And there's your date stamp, March of 76. Okay, let's get into this book and see what we can find. The police are coming, sir. Alfred, you've got to take the rap for this murder. A clue before dying. The fugitive hears it, a cape fluttering in metronome cadence, like the beating wings of an avenging angel of death, but it is something more terrifying, the wind-churned cloak of the dread Batman, who seeks guilt or innocence in the heart of fleeing quarry. He is this house whose walls still shudder with the memory of the unspeakable crime of 10 years past. The party has been shattered by murder, and to ferret out the killer, the Dark Knight detective, a must find and a clue before dying. The murder suspects, Walter Gunt, the actor, Lieutenant Danny, the detective, Lyle Keene, the secretary, and Miss Emma Rundle, the housekeeper. Still getting over that cold. This isn't one of your hokey films, Gart, with the fight choreographed to make you look good. You got in one shot, your only shot. This cat and mouse game is over. Didn't you hear me? I said it's over. And I mean it. Crash. The actor is dazed for only a minute. Time enough for the Batman's keen mind to swiftly recap the evening's events. Beginning with the party several hours earlier. So, Elliot, your publishers awarded you $1 million advance for the Dreamhouse murder, eh? With bashes like this, you'll spend it all in a week. Mr. Wayne, my boss, book will earn twice that in 1 week. Please, Lyle, a little modesty. Nothing's worse than an over-enthusiastic assistant. Bruce, meet Lyle Keene, the personal secretary. My publisher's just hired for me. The party was his idea. I thought of celebrating my book's completion was a nifty notion, but Mr. Gaunt, my genial host, apparently doesn't think so. Every minute I've been writing it, he's wished that I'd never come here. He despises me. Excuse me. But enough of this. It's almost midnight. Time to work minor revisions. You understand, tomorrow's my deadline. Work, yes, the famous Quinn punctuality writing at midnight on the dot every night. One question before you go. Will you work in your trademark? The victim leaving behind a clue before dying? No, sad to say. Except for my hypothetical solution, this book's nonfiction. I can't take liberties with the facts. It's an unrealistic gimmick anyway. A chap tips off the gendarmes to the killer's identity while mortally wounded. Now really? Unrealistic, who's to say? There might have been hundreds of actual cases like that of which we know nothing, because the police were too dumb to decipher the clues. Why, that overbearing little... You don't get along with Quinn either, do you, Lieutenant Danny? How'd you rate an invite? A peace offering, I reckon. I investigated the Dreamhouse murder case 10 years ago, so I'm in his book. Guess he's being friendly, so I won't sue for libel when I read it. Later, a plush guest suite, silence save for a whispered conversation and a muted clacking of a typewriter down the hall. Rather hospitable of Mr. Quinn to let us stay the night, wouldn't you say, Master Bruce? Why should he care who stays, Alfred? It's not his house. Precisely. So if you'll pardon my curiosity, sir, why is he working here? Keene talked Gaunt into permitting it. The Dreamhouse murder concerns an actual crime committed in this very house. When it was owned years ago by the architect who designed it, one morning his secretary discovered him dead, murdered. The DA's only suspect was acquitted, and so today the murder remains unsolved. Gaunt bought the house soon after. When Quinn started his research, he thought the atmosphere here would help him a commotion in the hall, sir. Will you be investigating? You bet. You stay here. If anyone comes looking for Bruce Wayne, cover me. Moments later, the facade of a strange, dark building awash in the cold gray moonlight is darkened by the huge shadow of a bat. Good heavens, it's Mr. Quinn. He's been shot dead, I'd say. The Batman? Forgive the dramatic entrance, but you're about to step on the murder weapon and ruin any possible fingerprints. Quinn was killed with one shot in the jugular vein. I expect ballistics will confirm my suspicions that it is Quinn's own gun, complete with silencer, which explains why no one heard the shot. Carefully planned crime with no readily apparent clues, just a lingering smell in the air, like acetone. You found the body, Miss Rundle, yes. I came up with Mr. Quinn's milk, as I do every morning, exactly at 2. You know now how he was about that time? Get to the point, please. Did you see anything unusual? No, just Mr. Wayne's man, Alfred, walking down the hall. Alfred? Well, a bald man anyway. I assumed it was Alfred. You saw someone now? I see someone running away. The Batman's pursuit we've already seen, so now... Why were you fleeing from your own home, Gaunt? A good question, and we're both waiting for your answer, Gaunt. I said answer. Cut the strong-arm stuff, Lieutenant. He can't tell us anything without that chalkboard, huh? He's a mute. See the scars on his throat? His vocal cords have been severed. Yes, and his career with it, Gaunt blames Elliot Quinn for his loss. That magnificent voice that made him rich and famous, gone? He was chosen to play Quinn in a movie, but Quinn vetoed the choice. Shattered, Gaunt thought his film career was over. He drowned his sorrows in drink, then took a drive, which ended when he went through the windshield. The doctors saved his life, but not his voice. And now Quinn's been murdered, and Gaunt's making a getaway. Gaunt says, here he was running to find you, Lieutenant. Mrs. Rundle's scream alarmed him. Minutes later, in the murdered man's room, just called headquarters to send over the crime lab boys. Ironic, isn't it? It took Quinn's own murder to prove his clue gimmick is a bunk. Oh? Sure. Look, a fresh sheet of paper in the typewriter. If Quinn had time to leave a clue, he could have typed it out, but he didn't. Don't be so positive Quinn didn't leave a clue, Lieutenant. Sure, Batman, sure, but I'm a little old-fashioned. I prefer asking questions to staring at a corpse. And you, reader, have you spotted the clue that Batman saw? Maybe it's that right there, or it's the time. The times are different. You said Mrs. Rundle mentioned something about a bald man? I think I'll have a talk with Wayne's butler. Huh? Where'd the Batman go? Presently. You're the only bald man in the house, Pennyworth. And Mrs. Rundle saw you leaving the murder room. What's the meaning of this, Alfred? Come along, Pennyworth. I've got questions. You might at least go with him, Mr. Wayne. Not me. I never involve myself with personal affairs of my domestics. How I despise this selfish snob act. But Alfred knows the Batman must be free to find the real killer. That odd smell again. After Danny departs with Alfred, the household settles back into a slumber except for one ever vigilant figure. A tough case, everyone is a suspect, even the lieutenant. His rage over Quinn's contempt for the police is almost psychotic. How sharp can he be picking up Alfred? And not noticing that Quinn's watch was 5 minutes faster than the electric desk clock. That's what I said. Quinn was never sloppy about time, so the clock had to be stopped for 5 minutes. One outlet, one switch. The killer could have shut off the current in the room with one snap. So how do you leave a clue on an electric typewriter with no current? My hunch is the clues in Quinn's pointing finger, indicating what floor downstairs, what? Better take another look at Mrs. Rundle. Must find out why she fingered Alfred. He was with me when she screamed, so I know she's lying. Mrs. Rundle. Dead. That bruise on her forehead. She was bludgeoned to death, probably with hunk, poker. Oh. To be lifted mere minutes later for his would-be killer hasn't reckoned with the amazing recuperative powers of the Batman. Terrific. Let my guard down just once, and I get a skull like a cracked egg and a mouthful of rug. Rug? The rug, that's it. Quinn was pointing to the rug. The world's greatest detective has solved the case. And you, alerted by a sound from an outside, the Batman races out to the patio and someone's starting up the outboard motor. If it's who I think it is, there's no way I'll let him go anywhere. And here he goes, chasing that outboard motor. He's chasing the outboard motor. Clud, chase that outboard motor. Get him, slam, fight, big fight. Okay, give it up, Creep. I know why you killed Quinn. Very clever shooting Quinn in the throat to make it seem like poetic justice meted out by Gaunt. But you blew it by killing Mrs. Rundle when she caught you burning Quinn's manuscript, the script which no one else noticed was missing, the script that incriminated you. She'd already seen too much because she wasn't lying when she said she's seen a bald man. I finally identified odor of acetone spirit gum used by actors to paste on false beards, or by a bald man who wears a rug. Rug as a toupee, as a hairpiece, as in the hairpiece worn by Kyle Keene sometime later. Keynes confessed he killed the architect in this house 10 years ago. He thought the hypothetical killer in Quinn's book resembled him so closely as to be incriminating, so Quinn had to be killed. It all fits. Who else but Keene could have known all three facts where Quinn kept his gun? How to kill both the lights and the typewriter before killing Quinn, and the manuscript's hypothetical killer the next day. I bet now you wish you and Pennyworth had gone back to Gotham when you had the chance, eh, Wayne? It made no difference to me, Lieutenant. I slept through all the excitement, which is just as well. It probably would have just bored me to tears anyway. You know how we idle millionaires are. And that's the end of that story. Ooh, Man-Bat. I guess we can read a little bit of Man-Bat. Kirk Langstrams, can you change the tide of your nightmare? Slowly, your clouded brain gropes toward consciousness, and you realize you are captive, tied to a bell, pulling in the ancient cathedral, because you are more than a man, yet something less. You are the Man-Bat, and you are a pawn in a bizarre and deadly scheme of culminating your death when you hear the scream of the gargoyle. All right, Dr. Thenoni, just shriek. Why am I here? Why are you doing this to me? You feel the blood race to your head and the brittle hemp slice into your ankles as a leering demonic face comes into focus. You wish to know why you are about to be turned to stone. Very well, it will be your last request. This cathedral was not built here in Chicago, but rather in Paris, then brought to America brick by an architect and his wife in the 1870s. The church was known throughout the Europe as the Silent Cathedral because its bell had no clapper. The architect Maurice Leblanc quickly corrected that condition. However, and that was his undoing, for the tolling of the devil bell released a terrifying demon from his centuries-long imprisonment. The LeBlancs paid a terrible price for unwittingly freeing the demon. They were magically transformed into the stone gargoyles and imprisoned here, just as the demon had been. But Maurice and Helene LeBlanc were unique people. Their astral bodies, or souls, if you will, contained tremendous mystic energy, of which they were unaware. The demon sensed it, however, and has been tapping into the last century. In these past years, the demon had depleted the mystic energy. With no further use for them, the demon will dispose of Helene and her husband. Shriek, what is Helene LeBlanc impossible? She can't still be alive, yet she doesn't look older than 30. And her face, shriek, it's the face that she had changed back into my wife. But that was Helene, not your wife. I magically switched their positions in time and space, then turned Helene into the she-bat to lure you here. Your intervention, when you administered the serum to her, revealed her true identity to you. You see, the LeBlancs had to be replaced, and the only two people in Chicago possessing mystic energy are you and your wife. Now that she has been transformed into the stone gargoyle, you are about to join her. Not if I have anything to say about it, but being upside down literally puts me in no position to object, unless seconds seem like centuries as you flex every muscle in your powerful legs until finally the ory rope snaps and, I've yanked the bell, pulled ringing devil bell, the male gargoyle turning back into Maurice LeBlanc. Ringing the bell triggers the transformation, which means that any moment now I'll be turned into stone. Already I feel the muscles in my legs tensing, becoming rigid. The transformation is beginning, got to stop, and it's at its source. This bell, blast my sensitive bat hearing, bell so loud, skull splitting, must put bell out of commission. There, I still haven't figured what Thanaginus' role is in all this, but I know I'd better hold on to this clapper so he can't ring the bell again. Suddenly, what in heaven's name? No, I'll wager heaven had nothing to do with this. Gleek, gleek. Because if my guess is right, I'm being attacked by the cathedral's resident demon himself. Those sharp claws, he'll slice me to ribbons if he connects. But I'm not about to let that happen. Odd, I don't see Thanaginus anywhere. And that demon wants the good doctor's wand. Conclusion? Thanaginus is the demon. He's going to zap me with that wand, but now I know how to stop him. If Thanaginos really is the demon of St. Aloysius, he will be repelled by a crucifix. Wanted to hang on to this clapper till I could find a way to destroy it, but it's the only thing I've got to throw at that demon. He throws it. My wand falling into the cauldron fire. Consumed. Arg, you'll die for that. Choking me. Can't break free. Well, the fire destroyed the bell clapper too, and my foe was turning to stone. With the clapper's destruction, the devil bell can ring no more, and because he was unable to replace the LeBlancs, in time the demon will be imprisoned here as a gargoyle forever. I'd better flap out of here quickly as possible. The LeBlancs will have enough trouble adjusting to a world 100 years in the future. They didn't need the shock of seeing Man-Bat adding to their troubles. Sometime later. So the demon sought us as his new human energy batteries, and he believed we possessed mystic energy, whatever that means. Is it possible we possess supernatural powers we aren't aware of? I don't know, honey. I just don't know. And frankly, Francine, it scares the life out of me. The end. Well, that was Batman's Detective Comics number 459 from 1976. I hope it was a good one for you. It was a nice long read. Once again, this book and others are available on my eBay page, Bappa's-Comic-Books. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Give me a like, give me a dislike. Tell me what you didn't like about it. And as Papa always says,
that was easy.
Until next time, Papa is out.